Hi everyone, let's talk about a fundamental shift in how we access virtual machines in Azure. The traditional VM, what's the how we actually access there? We create a VM, it gets a local administrator account with a password. Um, you save that password somewhere, hopefully a password manager. When someone needs access, you either share that password or create another local account. Now think if there are 50 VMs or 500 whatever, different password, different local accounts, no centralized management. Someone leaves the company, change password on every VM they touched. So manually adjust their access on every 11 VM. uh, think how like a nightmare will be. So now the modern approach is Entra ID authentication. What if your VM use the same identity system as everything else? Your users sign into the VMs with the same corporate credential they use for email, SharePoint, and Azure portal. So that's Entra ID login for VMs. One identity, everyone, like everywhere, one identity. Centralized access control. So automatic onboarding when people leave. Audit trail showing exactly who accessed which VM and when. So how actually that works technically? When you enable Entra ID login on a VM, Azure actually installs an extension, essentially an agent that integrates with the Windows or Linux authentication system. Let's talk about Windows. It integrates with the credential provider, and when you talk about Linux, it integrates with PAM and SSH. PAM is pluggable authentication modules. So when users attempts to connect, they authenticate to Azure using their Entra ID. Then Azure issues a token providing their identity. Then they present the token when connecting to VM. VM extension validates the token with Azure. If valid and user has appropriate role, then access is granted. These all happen seamlessly. From the user's perspective, it's like a remote desktop session, or for Linux, that is, she could sell SSH to the VM and it works. Now it's coming like uh, access is not like all or nothing. Azure provides two built-in rules. One is like virtual machine administrator login. It has got full admin access, can do anything on the VM, equivalent to like local administrator. Other one is virtual machine user login. Is standard user access, cannot install software or change system settings. Like this is good for developers who needs to run applications but should not modify the servers. And these roles are assigned at the VM level, resource group level, or subscription level. So Azure, the good way to manage is to use Azure AD groups. Now, here's some where it gets powerful. You can enforce MFA for VM access through conditional access policies. So you create a policy when user access Azure VMs, it requires MFA. So VM access requires two factors, password plus phone. This dramatically increases the security for server infrastructure. But in traditional local accounts, no MFA supports at all. Yes, there are common deployment challenges like network connectivity. VM needs outbound HTTPS to Azure endpoints. Highly restricted network might block this. You will need to allow specific Microsoft IP ranges. Think about legacy applications. Some old applications accept local Windows accounts. Enter ID login does not create local accounts by default. You might need to keep some local accounts for compatibility. Then it's coming break glass access. Like what if Azure is down and you cannot authenticate? You need a local administrator account as emergency backup. Store that password securely and monitor it heavily. Then think of RDP file modifications. So user needs to know how to modify RDP files. Without this step, connection fails with some error messages. So now let's talk about like the transformation. Before this, that can be like 100 VMs, 100 local admin passwords shared among teams, changed annually. If you're lucky, no MFA minimum audit trail. After 100 VMs, zero local password, role-based access, MFA enforced, just-in-time access, complete audit trail, automatic offboarding. This is modern infrastructure security, and it's not theoretical. It's available today in Azure. So you don't have to migrate all VMs at once. You can start with non-production environment, test thoroughly, document the process, train your team on the new workflow. And for critical protection servers, run parallel authentication initially, both inter ID and local accounts enable. Once you are confident, disable local accounts. So we'll go through the lab. We'll create both Windows and Linux VMs with Entra ID login enabled. Then we'll assign VM access roles to users. We'll modify RDP files and connect. So let's go through hands-on experience. So this lab, we are focusing Microsoft Entra authentication for Windows and Linux virtual machines. So the scenario is, think that the company has decided that Microsoft Entra ID should be used to log in to virtual machines for remote access. So this lab, we will go through how this setup can be done. So for this, we have to connect to a portal. So let's connect to the portal and proceed with the lab. So after connecting to portal, create a resource and search for Windows 11 into search the marketplace bar, click enter. So Windows 11 box, select Windows 11. And we are going through version 23H2, click on create. So now in this properties wise, we are giving properties resource group, then give a virtual machine name. Security type standard, getting the size wise, we are going to selecting size DC1SB3. Select that one. Give a username and password. And make sure that licensing option has been selected to confirm that one. All others we are considering default value except management tab. We are going to check box to log in with Microsoft Entra ID under the Microsoft Entra ID section. And we can see that identity, that section is automatically checked and turned gray already. So now click on review and create. And click on create. So here you see the deployment is in progress. And here deployment is complete. It took little time, 2 minutes, I think. Now from connect, click on connect. And you can download RDP file. For logging in, now use the password that we set this up. So these are the settings for VM level. You just accept most of the cases. Now let's go to the control panel app, and from here select system and security from the list of settings, and then from system settings select allow remote access option, and at the bottom of the dialog box that opens you will see a remote desktop section. So uncheck the box labeled allow connection only from computing running remote desktop with network level authentication. Select apply and click on OK. Now close this one. Now we are going to set up RDP file to support the Microsoft Entra ID login. So select the VM to see the access control for this VM. And we have already got this setup already in place that can grant full access with this user ID that I have logged in. Otherwise, you have to assign the role for logging in to this VM if not already set up. Now let's go to the downloaded folder. Copy the RDP file that we have created. And we're going to create another one in relate to Entra ID. And so that for just to differentiate, we're just adding Entra ID at the end of the file name. So now we have two files. One is with Entra and another one is without Entra. So now let's connect to VM using the Entra ID login. So here we are adding the entries. Now save the file and double click to start VM to logging into the VM. So now you see it's prompted what user's account to log in with. You should get a message prompting on whether you want to connect to the remote computer. Select yes from the bottom of the screen. So remote desktop session should open and you show the Windows Server login screen. So I have used the admin account here. So here we are connecting using Entra and user 2 has already been given the permission for logging into this VM. So you have successfully logged in to VM using Entra user. So we have done with Windows VM. Now let's focus with Linux virtual machine. So here we're going to create a Linux virtual machine. So click create, select on virtual machine, select the resource group, give a virtual machine name. We are going to use image Ubuntu. Availability জন্য structure redundancy required. The security type as a standard. Using the shape standard D2SB3. Then here you can select user name and password. This is Linux, so port should that should be 22 SSH port. Here I am selecting the Ubuntu server machine image. So for this lab, I am selecting Ubuntu server 2204 LTS. So there is an option like generate a new key pair. If I would like to use the key pair, in that case, I have to give the key pair name. So for now, I'm just going to use, let me see what the options we can select for this lab. System managed identity that we are going to use. So let's ignore that one. Just use ID password instead of SSH public key. Most of the options we are selecting default except management section. We are going to check box to enable login with Microsoft Entra ID. Just to make sure that all properties are set up correctly. Then review and create to validate the configuration we selected. When done, then click on create. So for this lab, there is a user 2, which has already been created for us with the role that is needed for VM login. Deployment is completed. Let's go to Linux machine. Let's connect there. So using SSH, copy that on and open from shell. So this is the user that we have created during provisioning this Linux VM. So if you go and see the role assignment, which has already been set up for this VM. If role assignment is not there, just to make sure that before logging into this VM, when Entra setup is in place, make sure that a proper role setup is in place. So we have successfully completed this lab. If you have any questions, please raise that one into comment section. Otherwise, see you in next lab.